Dubious ones, welcome back to the channel for some Ultra Pro Wrestling news. Today, we are going over 100 facts that you didn't know about Ultra Pro Wrestling. Now, quick caveat here is some of this information, some of these questions and answers might be a little outdated. So for anything I know to be incorrect, I will do my best to give you all the updated information, the updated answers for those questions. Just wanted to start with that quick caveat for you guys there. And on a side note here, for those of you who stick around to the end of the video, I will have a little special surprise for all of you who made it to the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. But without further ado, let's get into some Ultra Pro Wrestling. So, number one, I'm going to start out with some general information for you guys. So, when is the game coming out? Number one, it was originally slated for late 2024, but it looks like we are being pushed back into 2025. And of course, barring unforeseen circumstances, development hell, or anything along those lines, fingers crossed we do get that 2025 release, but things are looking good for that. So I expect the game to be coming out in 2025. Question number two is, will there be a demo? As we are well aware, there will be a demo. The early access demo was slated for late 2023 for PC only, was supposed to come out in November. That was what they were hoping for as their target, but as we know now, the demo is going to be releasing on Steam in Q3 of 2024. When is Q3? Well, that ends in September, so that means we are getting it in the next couple of months here, coming up very soon. Could debut next week, could debut at the end of August or into September, but it is coming Q3 2024, so keep your eyes peeled for that, as we will be covering it for you here on the channel. Now, will you be demoing the game anytime? Will you be demoing the game anytime soon? Again, hopefully late 2023 is what they wanted to get us out there, but that was more of just for the showcase. That was the goal. So stay tuned for that. So again, a little bit of an outdated question there for you. Number four, who will be the two fighters you use in the demo? First is going to be Bill Dollar. As you're going to see from this footage right here, the two people we're going to get to play as in the demo are being showcased on screen for you right now. You will see Bill Dollar, Blue Collar Bill Dollar, and Sir Oliver Buckingham. And they tell you to check out their roster page for a full list of characters for the finished game, as they will have over 100 characters made specifically for Ultra Pro Wrestling. That is not including any of the DLC of the real wrestlers we're getting, so that's very, very exciting stuff, and all characters will be fully customizable for you, but I don't want to spoil further questions that might be coming on down the line. So number five, what consoles will the game be on? Well, they're going to start with a Steam release and then release on the Switch, the PlayStation, and the Xbox. So we're likely going to be getting it for the PS4 and PS5, the Xbox One, and the Series X and S. Number six, if there are new consoles between now and the release date, will you update your platform list? And they said, yes, we will definitely look into the resources needed to get it on the most up-to-date consoles. So if we somehow get like the new Switch coming out before the release of the game, chances are the game would end up being released for the Switch. And as you can see on screen right now, these are the models. You can see early pre-alpha models of Blue Collar Bill Dollar and Sir Oliver Buckingham. Looks great to me. Number seven, will the game be available on any other services other than Steam? They said, we will try to get the game out in as many ways as possible for you all to play. Number eight, will the game be in 4K quality for the Xbox Series S and X and PlayStation 5, as well as PC? Yes, those versions will have 4K textures. So very, very good to know. Number nine, how long after the initial Steam release will the physical versions become available? How long after the initial Steam release will it be before the physical versions come available? Physical versions could end up taking a little bit longer due to the manufacturing process. There's also the possibility of Hyperfocus Games working with a third-party publisher, which could change our estimates for physical releases. Number 10, will there be a pre-order option? Yes, but we aren't there yet Technically, the Kickstarter offered a pre-order option. That is true. Yours truly, Kickstarter supporter. I am getting my copy of the game that way. Number 11, for the Nintendo Switch physical version, would it be the version that is initially released on Steam that would be ported to the Switch, or would it be held back so that a later updated version is sold? There is a likelihood that it would be released slightly later than the Steam version. The version of the game that exists at the time of publishing, the Nintendo Switch version, will be the version you will receive, with all the same updates provided to all the other systems. So it doesn't look like you're going to be getting a downgraded Switch experience, which is good. That's what it sounds like to me. Now, will the game look cartoony when it comes out, or will you turn towards a more realistic depictions later when you were in post-production? So the art style is a mix of old Nintendo 64 models and a bit of Destiny Infinity proportions. We want the art style to be a little bit cartoony to help the characters stand out and make it easier to create your own creative wrestlers. It will also make your edits to the characters still fit into the game. If you go for realism with picture-perfect scans, any change to a model will end up looking off. If you have a perfect scan of everyone's face, but then you add face paint or a beard, it'll come off as unnatural. The creative aspects will really shine in this art style. I really agree with that, and I personally love this art style. I think it looks incredible myself. Now, why not make a game based on a real-world promotion? When you connect with a company, you also connect to their politics. We want to keep the game as close to our vision as possible and without worry of losing funding due to issues beyond our control. Our goal is the same as many of our fans, which is to make a true successor to the Aki style of wrestling games. Now, will there be real-world wrestlers and locations in the game? Our characters are custom designed and made not to be specific to any wrestler in the past or modern times, but instead be archetypes of wrestlers. Locations as well as the archetypes of arenas, with large and small venues being available, with the customization suite. If you want to change a wrestler to a real-life counterpart or the location to a real-world location, as in the arenas, you will be able to do so. There will actually be some real-world wrestlers which will be explained in the DLC section. All right, and so question 15. Will there be DLC, and is it free? So that's really a two-parter there. There will be two types of DLC. The larger season of content updates will add a new decade of story content, which will also be incorporating signature elements of the era to give you more of a feel for the change from decade to decade. So more items and more match types will become available. These packs will be free for all the players who bought Ultra Pro Wrestling. We will also implement some gradual updates and improvements as we go. We want to make sure our initial backers, our first fans, don't feel screwed out of content for getting the game early. And that is super nice. I don't know any other game that is offering free, massive content DLC updates, like an entire new season mode, new match types, and all the kinds of cosmetics and things that they have promised that will be free DLC for us. That's incredible. Now, the paid DLC this is the second part of the question, will it be free? There will also be special free agent package. As you can see on the screen right now, we are seeing some of the free agent DLC, but there will be a special free agent package that will feature actual wrestlers. Proceeds from these packs will go to the wrestlers' estate, or the estate of those that are no longer with us. So when you're paying for a Blue Meanie, for example, or Demolition here, your funds, your proceeds from that DLC that you just bought will go directly to the wrestlers in perpetuity. For every DLC that is bought, the funds will go to that wrestler or to their estate, and I think that's a super cool way to be able to support your favorite wrestlers that are in there. So only paid DLC is the real-life wrestlers and real-life stuff, which is very cool. Question number 16, will there ever be an Ultra Pro Wrestling 2? This is not in the plans at all. We want this title to be the title that people play as long as they've played No Mercy. In the future, we would love to make other games based on the Ultra Pro Wrestling universe, though. So that more touching on, like you've seen the screenshots of UPW Golf or like UPW Saturday Night Slam Masters kind of deal. Very, very cool ideas, but not an actual successor like Ultra Pro Wrestling 2, more of a spin-off. So that's cool. Will there be an online mode? You will be able to have matches online. Right now, the focus for online mode will just be having matches and rankings. And of course, we know since then we're also going to be getting UPW Monday Blast, which I think is huge. But again, we'll get to that a little bit later on. Now, will there be a search for matches? Yes, but we will have to figure out the system. We are interested in a quick search as well as filtered searches to get you into matches that you like and not be specific to one type. So let's reread that. We are interested in a quick search, which is good. You need a quick search feature, as well as filtered searches to get you into the match that you like, not specifically one type. Okay, so you can also filter through. So if you want a cage match, you want a tag team match, you want a triple threat match, not just locked into one-on-one. Got it. Very, very cool. We also want to look into background searches so you can play the game while you're in queue. That was one of my biggest things. Being able to search for matches in the background while you're playing the game. Super, super cool. Great to hear that. Now, question 19, will there be rollback netcode? Will we get cross-platform online play? Again, a double question in this one. Getting some bonus facts, chat. Now, we are still trying to get the base game going, but we have started using an online system that does use rollback netcode. Very cool. There are also a few options for cross-platform that are open to us. We hope to leverage both rollback and crossplay for the final version of the game. So they really want to get crossplay in here, and I think it's a must. We know they're going to do their best, so if PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox can all play ball and Steam can all play ball together, that will be fantastic. Now, question number 20. Can we fill an online game with computer players instead of waiting for it to fill with real players? So this being in like a match type, like say like a Royal Rumble type match, or just like, like a 4-on-4 tag team, 3-on-3 tag team, 2-on-2 tag team, whatever it might be, a multi-man match that has some players filled, but you don't want to wait forever to fill it with online or with more players? The answer is yes. If you start a match online with some human online players, you will be able to start the match filling the rest of the players for a match with computer players. So that's fantastic. That is necessary for online for these wrestling games to be able to fill up those multi-man matches. So I love hearing that. That is wonderful news. Question number 21. How much is the final game going to cost? The cost of the final game has a lot of deciding factors that we are not at yet, so we currently don't have an answer. More than the early bird Kickstarter price, though. So for the early bird Kickstarters, you were able to get it. I don't remember exactly how much it was because I went with like the Wham Bam Thank You Ma'am package of like, you get the title belt mailed to you in the mail. I'm getting a UPW replica title, all that fun stuff. So I went with like the maximum package, but I think you could get in on the Kickstarter price for about $20. If I remember correctly, I could be wrong. It's been so long now. So don't quote me on that, but I think you would be able to get that for this. I wouldn't be surprised if the final game was like a $40 game. I mean, with everything we're getting, I wouldn't, personally, if I didn't already do the Kickstarter thing, I wouldn't care if I was paying full price for this, but that's because I'm a diehard fan. So we don't have an answer to that yet, but I'm sure we'll find out somewhat soon. Number 22, what match types can we expect at launch? We're going to try to tie the match types into the 80s story mode. So, because we're getting the 80s story mode and the career mode at launch, so you're going to get 1v1, triple threat, tag team matches, tornado tag matches, and matches that don't affect the general mechanics of a match. Some more complicated / object-oriented matches may have to come out later in an update. Okay, so that's good to know. Will there be tournaments and leagues and survival? Yes, we would like that to build these options for tournaments and leagues. No Mercy gave us tournaments, while Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 had tournaments and leagues. Both were great systems that we would like to provide to longtime fans of the Aki engine. Again, Survival was a fun 100-man rumble in No Mercy that we would also like to bring back. Fantastic to hear that. Can we run CPU-only matches or tournaments? Yes. A pretty straightforward answer there. Will matches have ratings? Can a match be 5 stars? Aki had a rating system Aki had rating systems in Revenge and even in Def Jam, so we will look into those, but it's a feature that is pretty far in the future at this time. Okay. Will there be Steam achievements? Yes. We will make some at the tutorial level for doing something one time, and we will try to make some creative ones as well. Can we change button bindings? Could we use an N64 controller? So another double question here. Yes, if your computer can map buttons to an N64 controller, that shouldn't be an issue. Very, very cool. Sorry. Question number 28. Are you going to make a strategy guide for the game? We love the retro stuff like our N64 Retro Game Box backer tier list. This is a throwback game, so we wanted to recreate the experience of being a fan in that time, so we'll definitely look into it. There will be some form of in-game tutorial. Cool. 29. Is there any way of receiving regular updates on the game's progress? Yes. We will hold regular streamed question and answer sessions on the UPW YouTube channel. We also have a Discord and update regularly on Twitter. So the link to all of that will be in the description below for you, so you can link to their YouTube channel, to their Discord, and to their Twitter, as well as their Patreon if you want to support them directly through that as well. Question number 30. Why don't you show more of the game's development process? If you put anything out to the public, there will always be a misunderstanding. Rather than using energy explaining to every person what the content we post is on social media, we're putting that energy into the demo instead. We want to put out information that is clean and closer to finished products. That makes sense, as they did initially put out some early stuff, and then a lot of people said, oh my god, this game looks terrible, looks unfinished, way when they were in like the super alpha stages. So I understand why they stopped doing that. That makes sense. 31, will the game support internal voice chat? There will be an internal voice chat there will not be an internal voice chat at this time. We will look at other games to see how they handle voice chat, or if it's just handled by the console itself. Okay? Can the community help create content? We would love to help, but from a quality control perspective, we can't open up everything for everyone to have input. We want the official parts of the game to be as polished as possible. It isn't out of the question, though. That's pretty cool. We always appreciate how passionate the fans and backers of the project have been. Whenever we have the possibility to do something like a move creator, we would be in favor of it, but it needs to be clean. That's nice to hear that they really want everything to be as clean and to fit into the game as possible. So I respect that answer. I like that answer. How do you decide what background factors affect the match, damage levels, or momentum, things like that? One of our community members, Melon Bread, who, if you're not familiar with Melon Bread, the master of the Aki engine and has been the one who's found secrets in like the Revenge and the Aki engine to this day, 24, 25, 26 years later, after these games have released, he's still finding out secrets that we didn't know was in the code originally. So Melon Bread is the man to go to. So it's really great to see that he's on board in the community helping out with this project. So they said, one of our communities, Melon Bread, has extensive knowledge of the Aki system and posts regularly about his findings for new wrestling games as well. Give him a follow on Twitter using hashtag AKI Did You Know! ! Give him a follow on Twitter using hashtag Aki Did You Know! ! All right. Now, people are saying, I've heard him mentioned, but who is MDickie? He makes indie wrestling games such as Wrestling Revolution for the iOS and Android devices, as well as Wrestling Empire, which is available on the Steam and Switch. He has some brilliant ideas in his games with so much freedom, and you can visit MDickie.com to find out more. Side little note about MDickie is I've actually known him since the days of when I was playing Superfire Pro Wrestling X Premium on the Super Nintendo emulators back in like the early 2000s, late 90s, and I saw him when he was just getting his start in the scene, doing like little flash games of like using those character sprites from the Super Nintendo game, of like Jeff Hardy doing like a swanton just through a bunch of tables and weird stuff, like just the weird stuff he first started creating. So it's really cool to see how far MDickie has evolved over the last 20 years, because I saw him when he was literally just getting his start in the wrestling game industry. So that was just like a fun side story for you guys. But number 35, Who made the hand-drawn rosters designs for Ultra Pro Wrestling? Hal Haney, one of my favorite artists in the entire world. This man is incredible. His socials will be down in the description. I will leave you his Twitter. Go check him out if you haven't already. He not only makes the incredible artwork and sprites for this game, for the unique 100 characters, all through the great, brilliant mind of Hal Haney, but he does incredible wrestling art. Absolutely, by far, one of my favorite artists I've ever seen. So you need to go check him out. So again, I will leave a link to his Twitter in the description for you guys to check out his stuff. But yeah, he has made all of the sprites and all the cool guys that we have in Ultra Pro Wrestling. Is there any merchandise for the game? Yes, we're on multiple sites with custom Ultra Pro Wrestling tees. So they have ultraprowrestling.threadless.com, and then they have a spot on prowrestlingtees.com, which is prowrestlingtees.com/ultraprowrestling. I'll try and remember to leave a link to these in the description of the video as well. I see one of the shirts is a design from Hal Haney, but what about other designs? Those are done by the amazing designer and UI expert, Lance. He also updated our logo and menu system for us early on. Just amazing work from him. And then he's got his Instagram page at instagram.com/Lance, WLANCE, WALDROPX. So Lance Waldrop X on Instagram there. Now, number 38, who did the Ultra Pro Wrestling theme? Who did the UPW theme? Steven. He is the sound designer for Ultra Pro Wrestling. Amazing guy, by the way, Steven. You're always killing it with the sound and music on these games. Let's even turn this up just a bit so you can hear some of the cool background tunes. So, I mean, he does really, really great stuff. The Dean Malenko recreation of his theme that he did was, oh my god, it was brilliant. It was perfect. The British Bulldogs theme, everything. Oh, so good. So good. Anyways, he's the sound designer. He even made a vocal version which isn't being used because it was too distracting to the match. There will be a time when they will even be available on Spotify, but not yet. So that's really cool. So link to his Twitter, twitter.com/Steve, or STEV, Stev Visuals. So STE and then Visuals. VISUALS, and then Instagram at Stephen DeWar Visuals. I'm going to have to try and leave a link to all this stuff in the description for you guys. I'll do my best to go through that and make sure I don't leave anybody out when I put up the description for this video, because there's a lot of links here, and I know just me saying it is going to be a little difficult for you. But let's go to some of the in-game information now. So number 39, what style is this game? Our game engine is dubbed the Ultra Pro Wrestling Engine. It was designed specifically to appeal to wrestling fans of the N64's WWF No Mercy, WCW vs. NWO Revenge, and Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. For fans who never got the chance to experience those older games, we would like to introduce you to a new type of wrestling gameplay we refer to as pure wrestling, where the authenticity of the combat in the wrestling context is the primary focus. We are not just trying to emulate what the Aki games like Virtual Pro Wrestling and WWF and WCW games did, but try to progress the system in a way that would resemble the next iteration if they had a version that came after No Mercy, which was the last Aki pure wrestling game. Because again, this is not talking about the Def Jam games, which spun off into their own thing because they didn't have the wrestling license anymore. So this is what would be if we were to actually to have gotten a successor and a sequel to No Mercy beyond that. So the Aki style also felt more deliberate than the more arcade-like versions of wrestling games that we get today. Less cutscenes and more control. The last thing we want is for the game to mechanically stray too far away from the Aki engine, which is why we're not going to get certain things that we might be used to now from all the WWF games, but they're going to choose specifically not to include certain things if it feels like it derives away too far from what Aki would have done themselves back in the 2000s. So things like when you have, like, say, the comebacks in the WWE games, and you have like a mini game system where you're going and you're watching a cutscene go on while you're playing a mini game, they do not want that kind of thing in Ultra Pro Wrestling, just for clarification for what I mean there. So question number 40. Will there be chain wrestling? In the Aki games, you can go from front to back grapple. We want to expand the options available to give you more of a chain feel. An example would be adding headlocks, front face locks, hammer locks, wrist locks, which each would have other options attached to them. Some of those options would be unique moves or taunts or even strikes. We want this mechanic to also be incorporated into looping moves where there are multiple spots from an opponent to reverse the move. For those that don't remember, a looping move acts like a submission move, but without the possibility of submitting an opponent. Repeating power bombs, head smashes to the mat, etc. So there were moves like that in the Aki engine, is what they're saying. It's like the repeated power bombs or head smashing on the mat, but they wouldn't actually submit. So I got that. That makes sense, okay? So this would also lead to a function that we have seen from the Def Jam games, where you would grab an opponent and move them towards the ropes to perform a rope maneuver. We would like to see, so Fight Forever also has this. When you grab them, you could kind of drag them in the direction you wanted them. So we would like to see our game incorporate this pushing mechanic and put your opponent either into the ropes, turnbuckle, or other interactive elements of the environment to create unique moves. Originally, Aki games force you to Irish whip your opponent everywhere, and Def Jam added the push mechanic as well. Chain wrestling should feel like the next iteration of those mechanics. So they are incorporating some stuff that had, like, that was iterated in the Def Jam series. So that's actually good to hear. I like hearing that. Number 41, will you keep the same damage values for the moves from the Aki games? Yes, we will review the original games extensively to make sure our versions are as close to the originals in terms of power, damage, and result. Oh, sorry, I didn't want to spoil that there. We will review the games extensively to make sure our versions are as close to the originals in terms of power, damage, and result on the opponent as possible. So that's cool. 42, will there be direction options for grapples? Yes, the same as No Mercy's grapple, followed by A plus up, A plus left or right, A plus down, B plus up, B plus left or right, B plus down. So they're going to have the same directional grapples as the Aki engine had. Can you change how powerful an attack or grapple is? If you set a move as a special, it will have an extra bit of power. We will also look into increasing the power of weak grapple moves when you put them in strong grapple slots. Okay, so that would be cool. That would be actually really helpful if they did that. If you get extra damage for having them as a strong grapple, so you can still have like an eye poke but have it do more damage, that's cool. Will wrestlers have a favorite signature or trademark moves to make the CPU use them more in matches? Yes, we want to assign moves to be used more often depending on the character. In Aki games, it was referred to as favorite. So they did have that option in the Aki games, which I forgot about. Number 45, can you change your health going into a match in order to handicap yourself going in? We would like to see the ability to lower your health or abilities going into an exhibition match. This may not be available in online play, though, just to keep things fair. Okay, cool. 46. So you are trying to replicate every move from the Aki games in this game? Yes. After getting through No Mercy, other Aki games like Revenge, World Tour, and Virtual Pro Wrestler will be combed through for more move animations that weren't in No Mercy. Because No Mercy had almost all of them, but not quite everything. It is a large undertaking, but we want to give you as many different moves as possible. Our priority now is to have Our priority now is to have as many different moves than the amount of different styles of the same move. I gotta read that again. Our priority now is to have as many different moves than the amount of different styles of the same move. That is a little confusing, the way they worded that sentence. Will there be new moves that weren't around in Aki games like the Canadian Destroyer? After the initial set of moves are added into the game and animated, we're going to set our sights on new moves. Enough people want to see a Destroyer in the game to make it happen. So yeah, we are going to get moves that weren't in any of the Aki games, like a Go to Sleep from CM Punk, or an F5, or, a Van Daminator, stuff that wasn't in the game. We will be getting some moves that were not in those Aki games in the game, which is a must, because there's been so many cool moves that have come out since those games are around. But it's very cool that they're doing that. Number 48, can we submit moves for the game? will you take any move we suggest? Yes. Wow, that's a surpriser. Yes, go to the Discord. There is a move request channel. Wow, they even have a channel on the Discord for move requests. Some moves may have already been submitted there. We want to get to everyone's move requests in the game. The only reason we may reject an idea is if it's the same move that we have already implemented with a different cell. Okay, so they might have already animated something very similar. Gotcha. 49. For light attacks, will you be keeping the original style of one strike mapped to the one button combination, or will you go to the modern style of pressing the same button multiple times will give you a different attack depending on how many times you have already pressed the same button? Okay. At this point, we will keep the single stripe. At this point, we will keep the single stripe mapping. It makes more deliberate decisions in your attacks than button mashing for your third or fourth strike in a row. There is room for changing this decision if we get enough feedback at the time of implementation. We will test it and pitch it to the community when it comes up. Aki did have a combo system in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 and even Revenge, so we will look in to see what was possible and the intention of it and see if we can bring it into the game. So I would be really surprised if they didn't include the combo system that Goldberg had in Revenge, or that they had it in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. That was a cool feature. You had it as an alternative to having B grapples. Instead of B grapples, you would have just the combo system. And I actually kind of like that. And I would like that for more strike-based and MMA-based wrestlers options. I think that would be really cool. Number 50. Number 50, chat. Sorry, I just got to pause things right here and say thank you all for watching. I hope you are all enjoying this. I appreciate you all for watching. You guys are amazing. But let's get to the last half of the video. So, number 50. Will you be able to use the joystick or D-pad for movement? You'll be able to change it, but by default, movement will be mapped to the D-pad. Oh, interesting. So it's going to go like the old N64 style, where you would use the D-pad for movement and use the thumbstick to pose, but you will be able to change that. So that's good, because I wouldn't want to move around with the D-pad in 2024. That would seem weird. Will there be tests of strength when two players grapple at the same time? Possibly. Tests of strength is another old school sequence that doesn't happen too often. We may look into adding it as an attribute to a wrestler, that it could happen instead of a core mechanic. So you could select your grapple clash. Okay. Also, it happens only early in matches, so maybe we will implement a timing system that locks the mechanic later in the match. Okay. Will there be running grapples? Yes, and we would like to expand it, not just have not just more moves for running grapples, but also running grapples into the turnbuckle, apron, and other locations. Very cool. I like hearing that. Will there be aerial grapples? We would like to add that since running grapples exist already, so the mechanic makes sense within the system. We want you to go to the top rope, and then rather than letting go and doing one move every time, we want you to choose what you do. Just like on the ground, you could have a strike or a grapple for an aerial move. So yeah, so it'd be more like modern games where you can have multiple buttons when you go to the top rope, multiple moves. 54, will there be springboard moves? Yes, No Mercy implemented a few springboard moves initially, and we would like to add more. Very cool. 55, will there be pop-up moves that can have follow-ups? No. Little sad, they did in No Mercy have like the pop-up diamond cutter, or in like Revenge and stuff, like they had it for DDP. When he was in special, he could do the pop-up diamond cutter. So I'm sure that move will be there, but hearing that you can't do pop-up moves with follow-ups, a little sad, but we'll see what happens later on. 56, will there be taunts that cause an attack? Taunts had different options than attacks. For example, you could block or attack to stop your taunt early. If you tie a taunt with an attack, it may change the dynamic of both. Like you would be able to perform your taunt and get increased spirit while also causing damage. So that's okay. So probably not. Taunts had different options other than attacks. Gotcha. Okay, yeah, because you could just cancel a taunt by grabbing or striking, and if you added taunts that had that caused an attack, that might screw with the system or the engine a bit. Will there still be weight? Will there still be the weight mechanic where light wrestlers can't do certain moves on heavy wrestlers or super heavyweights? Yes, we would like to improve on it as well, so it isn't the same animation every time. See, that's what I didn't like about No Mercy, is when you were trying to lift Andre the Giant or like a super heavyweight, and you'd always just have to go for the body slam on like a Viscera or Mark Henry or whatever. I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all, because it just got rid of your like entire moveset basically. You'd have to go with a strike-based offense and just go for the grapples and your special. I didn't love it too much. I can understand them bringing it back because they want it to be as accurate to the Aki games as possible, but I just didn't like it personally the way it was implemented. So hopefully they're able to improve on it. Can we change the speed of the game? We aren't sure. We want to add that wrinkle to online play. Deciding a universal speed that is different than your own personal speed may cause issues with people trying to get used to the game. Right now, it will be one speed for all. That makes total sense. Will there be intergender wrestling? Yes. Question number 60. Will men and women have different animations? We will have different animations, and some may skew one gender or the other, but it won't be mandatory animations for men or for women specifically. Good. 61. What is the CPU AI like? We aren't at that stage yet. Aki had some states and implementations for move favorites and style favorites, so we will try to do the same when the time comes. One thing we would love to implement is giving a character a style. If they are daredevils, then they will always try to go overboard with high-risk moves. If they are hardcore, they will go for weapons, that kind of thing. So that's really, really, really cool. 62. When is it ready? Or when it is ready, will we be able to when it's ready, will we be able to simulate matches and have the computer-controlled wrestlers fight each other? Yes. You said you were modeling your animations on Aki games. Which game will you be using? No Mercy, Revenge, World Tour, Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 are all on the list. How will the MMA style work? There are different styles of fighter, lucha libre, brawler, submission, etc. Back in WCW, NWO Revenge, and World Tour, back in WCW, NWO World Tour, there was a boxer character who had no grapples. Yeah, Joe Bruiser. I remember Joe Bruiser. Joe Bruiser was awesome. That's cool that they're bringing it back to that, so you have styles like a boxer style. I would love to see that. For an MMA style, that would be really cool. Yeah, because Joe Bruiser, I forgot, he had no grapples. So we want to make an option to have a fight style like that. Something that is different enough from a classic wrestler, but still based on the Aki gameplay. It hasn't been completely fleshed out, but we're hoping that the chain wrestling system will make an MMA fighter and a boxer a viable addition to your classic wrestling roster. That's super cool. I hope so too. 65. Will there still be TKOs and KOs in wrestling matches? Yes. We will continue to have the same No Mercy style rules and results. If you're KO'd in a match where it doesn't end the match, your character will lay there and until you gain enough energy to get out of the down state. If a TKO is a way to win, then it will result in a win just like before. So remember when they were like in, what did the state say, danger? I guess you were in danger, or when you were knocked out, it said something different than danger, I think, when you actually were knocked out. But yeah, that's cool that they still have, I think it said losing it maybe. But yeah, I'm glad to see that that's coming back. Number 66, is there a way to regain health? No Mercy actually did have a mechanic to regain health, so we will be sure to look into it and implement it. Something having to do with staying in the ring and either not moving or not initiating contact. Okay, so Melon Bread must have given them this. That must have been, because I didn't know they had that. Will there be more dynamic block system like ducking? That will stray too far from the Aki game. More of a boxing simulation at that point. So at this point, it will be the classic block. So it will be the same style as the Aki style blocking. 68. Are there going to be more types of matches than just wrestling matches? Yes, we would like to add MMA style matches like Virtual Pro Wrestling, and even a match type more similar to a boxing match. Awesome. 69. Will there be tables? Yes, folding tables and announce desks. So we're going to get both. 70. Can we stack tables? Not in the first release. Eventually that will be something we do want to try though. Okay, so it won't be at release, but they are going to look into that. Will we be able to throw people over the top rope or through tables using basic grapple moves? Through the chain wrestling mechanic, we will be testing grapple moves similar to the functionality of a stalling suplex that will let you either move or taunt. With that, you can line up your opponent to interact with other elements of the environment. We think that's how Aki would solve the issue, rather than just leaving it up to chance or maybe part of the opponent just grazing an edge of a table and having it completely collapse. Okay, cool. So I like that they're thinking about that. That's great. Is the ground reversal the same as the Aki games? Initially, yes. When you go for a leg submission or on a face-down opponent, you will still go into a reverse animation for the Boston Crab. Over time, we do want to improve this. Okay, fair enough. So they're sticking with the reversal animations that were in No Mercy and stuff. Cool. If the match has no pinning and you execute a move that ends in a pin, will you be stuck pinning the opponent like in the Aki games? We would like to add in a mechanic so you don't have to select whether your move is a pin or not. We would like it so that you perform a move that could be a pin move. If you hold down the pin button, you go straight into the pin, but otherwise you release them. That same would be true for performing an aerial splash. Okay, that's one thing I was curious about because Revenge, No Mercy, all those games had a lot of like Hurricane Ranas and stuff that would be a mandatory pin afterwards. And you'd have to press a button to release the pin early. So I like that they're looking at that. Will we be able to steal finishers? Yes. 75. Will we be able to reverse finishers? This is a divided issue because the old Aki games didn't let you reverse specials. Many people like the old way, and others like that in real matches, finishers can be reversed, so why not in the game? We don't have a decision yet. Interesting. 76. Will there still be finishers in different locations? Are you limited to the number of finishing moves you can have? Another double question here. It will be just like the Aki games where you can select finishing moves from any grapple, submission, or aerial maneuver. We are still trying to figure out if and how we want to implement special striking moves. If you have the option, you have the option to not select a finisher from certain placements. Okay, yeah, because I don't think you could do like a basic just regular strike or like a running strike as a finisher. If I remember, maybe you could. I don't remember, but yeah, I remember certain things you couldn't, and they're looking at how you could put that in. So that's good. 77, will there be a secondary or super finishers super special? Not at this point, because we think having lots of finisher options is a better fit than having secondary and primary finishers. We will ask the community their thoughts when it comes to that point in development. Will you keep the standing dazed animation and the crumple KO? We want to innovate the dazed animation to an extent since no one really stands like that, but the crumple is a little bit more iconic to the moment, so hopefully we can keep them both for now and then iterate on them as development continues. Will there be a mist and a fireball move? Yes, we want to keep them both in and maybe add some customizations to it, like the color of the mist. Cool. Number 80, will we get full entrances or only partial entrances? There will be full entrances similar to Revenge and WrestleMania 2000. We will try to make some cleaner animations so it doesn't look as clunky. We will try to add some interactions during the entrance as well to make it for it to make sense, like timed pyro specific to what you have selected in the creation suite. Okay? 81. Can entrances have wrestlers sing to their own themes? We will test out some excuse me. We will test out some lip syncing dynamics to see what we can do with this. Right now it is being tested for cutscenes, but for the full theme can be investigated. 82. Will tag matches still allow you to always control the legal man in the match? Yes, you can have yourself switch or just stick to one character. That will be decided after selecting characters. 83. Will there be double team moves still? We would like to have the same double team moves and increase the options available, and hopefully even add corner double team moves. We want to lean away from doing moves that are too cinematic though. Definitely trying to keep the option to put someone on your shoulders to set up for moves like that, the way Aki had for like their Doomsday device and stuff like that. Will there be announcers? No. Announcers are difficult to get right, and we don't think there is a good direction to take it at this point. So we're not going to be getting an announced team, sadly. 85. Will the crowd noise be taken from Aki 2? We would like to innovate the crowd noises and cheers and reactions better than No Mercy had it. We are still working out the details, but we wouldn't want it to be unnatural for the game. Just like bad commentary, bad crowd noises may sour the game to an extent. Alright, so I'm glad they're thinking about that. 86. Will there be meters and bars on the screen or just the spirit meter? We might keep the health bars in as an option if it is helpful. We might not put it in at all, but it won't be something stuck on the screen. We won't be adding any minigame quick time events, since that loses the point of the struggle moments that we all fondly remember. Mashing buttons to struggle out of holds faster was such a big part of the fun in those games, and we don't want it to replaced, so you don't fight as hard when you know you will kick out just because your meter says so. Gotcha. We will still have to do will we still have to do hard grapples for specials or for strike moves like super kicks or running specials like the old big boot and leg drop? We will work on how to implement a special strike and see what the community thinks on the implementation. It may work, or it may be too far removed from the how the older games worked. The same goes for running specials. See, but they did have running specials, and Melonbread found that out in Revenge of all things. So hopefully they do take a really good look at running specials. I really hope so. Will camera shake and zoom-ins happen like in televised wrestling? No. 89. Will opponents be impacted by moves that are executed near them? Probably not, unless there is an argument for it. Aki didn't really do that too much. That was more of a SmackDown feature. But it is something I would like to see implemented. Myself personally, I'd like to see it. Like if you do a big dive to the outside and there's a couple of people bunched up together, you can knock down more than one person. I just think that's cool. I don't want to constantly always be colliding with people and knocking people out of their moves constantly, per se. But I do like being able to do like an outside dive where I jump into multiple people like you'd see on regular wrestling. Anyways, number 90. Will there be a backstage area? How is the transition between them? So another double question here. There will be backstage areas. We are going to try to avoid adding loading between rooms and have the transition be more seamless. So that's cool if they're able to implement that. And the fact that we're having backstage, amazing. Fight forever. Hello. How many promotions will be in the game? For launch, we are looking to have 10. Oh, wow. So at launch, they're looking to have 10 different promotions. That's very cool. How will targeting work with that many players? We could use the right stick to assist in setting who specifically to target. We will play test different options. Yeah, because there's going to be more than 4 players on the screen, so they're wondering how the targeting is going to work versus the way it worked in those games. Fair enough. How large will the promotion map be? The promotion map will probably be limited to Canada, Japan, Mexico, US, the UK, with varying numbers of territory location possibilities within them. Okay. How many championships will there be in the game? Each promotion will have a number of customizable championship slots, and online there will be a separate number of UPW championship belts. We will have a heavyweight, lightweight, tag team, and women's. We may also look at regional specific belts for the online mode. Championships for more than 2-man tag teams may not come right away. We will try. If trios/6-man titles are not available on release, it will come in a future update. So that's cool. Number 95. Can we play for championships in exhibition mode? Once the belt is unlocked by playing through the career, you can then use the belt in exhibition. Cool. 96. What is the limit on Battle Royal Rumble or Battle Royal Rumble participants? Either 40 or 50. And finally, we are getting to our last set of questions here. Number 97. Will Battle Royal Rumbles have specific over-the-top rule? Can you put the over-top rule for Royal Rumbles and Battle Royals? We would look into changing the original Aki design so that going under the top rope or being pulled out from the bottom wouldn't eliminate you. Yeah, because in those games, you could knock them through the middle rope and then just knock them out, and it would still count as an elimination. So they're going to look into possibly changing that. Can you add pin and submissions, eliminations to Battle Royal with ringouts? Yes. And finally, number 99, one more to go after this, but will there be a ladder match? Yes, the implementation of the ladder match will be close to the No Mercy style as possible. No added minigames or meters that make you hit the exact moment. just the struggle of mashing enough like No Mercy, we will be looking into adding some ladder spots without it being a cutscene. And finally, number 100, will there be a steel cage match? Yes. Once again, looking at the recreation of the No Mercy style cage match. Dubious Ones, my goodness, that is incredible. I even learned a few things that I wasn't aware of, and that is super cool and rare for me because I know just about everything there is to know about this game. But as I mentioned for you guys before, for everybody who stuck around and made it to the end, I have a little special surprise for you. Here is just a little snippet, and I will leave the a link in the description to the full video in the description down below. But this is just a little snippet, a little quick question from our interview, from Strizer Tube Wrestling and I's interview that we did with lead developer and creator of Ultra Pro Wrestling, Sam Vallely himself. So I will let you guys take a quick listen to that right now.
So, first question for you, and you probably have no idea what I'm talking about, so I'll explain, is do you plan on adding movable creation parts like in WrestleMania 19 on the GameCube? Now, on the GameCube, there was a certain amount of creation parts, let's say like a spinning blade, right? You can position them anywhere on the character. You can have them floating out here, you can have them in their shoulders to make it look like they had cool spinning blades in their shoulders. If you had a mask, you can adjust it to where it would fit the face perfectly, the size of the object, and all this stuff. Is that something you've even considered, or do you even know what I'm talking about?
In terms of like the mask, moving the mask, I've not thought about that because the way that the masks all have sort of blend shapes with them, so like they will conform to whatever face you have. Okay. Like if you have Bill Dollar's face, the mask will sit on Bill Dollar's face properly. In terms of like a spinning pattern, like an animated clothing item, not thought about that at all. Yeah, I'm trying to think of, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like what attire items you would have. You know, I guess you have like Jericho's jacket that lights up, but in terms of like, you know, because that's an animation, I guess. But in terms of like something that's moving, no, I've not thought about that at all.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Do you have any?
I was like, whoa. Back then,
maybe like, you know, obviously the WWE title, the old one would have the spinner.
Yeah, the spinner.
Things like that. Yeah, I don't know. Not thought about attire parts moving.
Yeah, see, there's an idea for you. I know it's probably way down the line, but hey, something cool to think about down the road.
Yeah.
Anyways, Dubious Ones, that was just a little sneak preview. Like I said, full interview I will leave in the description down below. But these were 100 plus facts that you didn't know about Ultra Pro Wrestling. As always, I've been Mr. Dubs, your #1 source for everything Ultra Pro Wrestling. I hope you guys have an awesome day, and I will catch you in the next one. Dubious Ones, deuces.
Make way for Mr.